Namaskar, Jai Hind. My name is Navneet Anand, and you're watching this special edition of Bureaucrats India Dialogue. Today is April 14th, 2024, and with me is an illustrious IAS officer, Smita Sabharwal. Though she needs no introduction, it suffices to say that she is one of the youngest IAS officers, cleared her uh, civils at the age of 22, and went on to create some remarkable imprints during her career, starting from 2001 batch. She was also the first woman to have been posted in the Chief Minister's office, and she has had a long stint in various capacities that we shall get to know. I welcome you, Smita Sabharwal ji, to this special edition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Garu.
Okay, so it's election season, and let me begin by seeking your mind on what do you think about the demographic shift, as we are calling it. Today, there is a large number of young voters, and incidentally, Telangana is the state which has been able to, mobilize the largest number of young voters. What is your one message to the young voters?
So frankly, I have not been, of course, directly involved with the electoral registration process because in terms of my job profile, I'm not directly involved. But what I understand is that a lot of saturation level activity took place by our extremely hardworking district electors who are also district election officers. And on the directions of the ECI and on the guidance of the ECI, they actually went in for a very good saturation mode strategy where every school, every college was visited. They conducted these programs called, I believe, model elections and Chunao Pathshala, certain initiatives they took. And they converted those that kind of mobilization into actual enrollment. So that is the secret behind the huge, young voter enrollment in Telangana. Plus, of course, like you rightly said, it's a great demographic strategic advantage right now because this 18 to 29 category of age group is at its, largest numbers are available in the demography. So naturally, they are also inclined and they're extremely, I would say, enthusiastic demographic because they have been showing a lot of enthusiasm. And technology wise also, since we are talking from the technology perspective, I believe the collectors really used technology to capture their interest. QR codes were displayed in every street corner. Then a lot of reach out through the electronic media to this demographic. So that's how this whole enrollment happened.
Thank you. As Smita ji pointed out, this dialogue is centered around technology, transparency, and trust, how to enhance citizens' participation, and who better to tell us on this subject than Smita, who has been at the helm of affairs and has a lot of accolades to her credit. The one initiative, Smita ji, you were part of was Voter Panduga during the Lok Sabha 2014 elections. That was again aimed at enhancing the polling percentage. What were the major learning? What were the major features of the program, if you could help us understand?
Actually, Dr. Saab, that was a very rudimentary program. Frankly, I mean, it kind of captured their imagination, especially the voters in the rural areas on a very emotional level. It was not exactly a very planned strategic initiative. It was a very local grassroots initiative. Of course, taking guidance of the ECI and our State Election Commission, I did realize that the district that I was working in at that time, which was Medak, it was a huge district with a very poor track record of voter turnout. So it was a local intervention where at every public interface point in the district, whether it was petrol bunks, it was cinema theaters, it was, fueling, any place where we know marketplaces, bus stops, we made it a point to make a huge, narrative was built around it, saying that it's a voter Panduga. Panduga in Telugu means festival. So it is a festival of democracy and everybody must come forward. And we also announced some prizes and tried to keep it interesting, especially for the women groups, because they are a huge influential target group. So it was a very rudimentary intervention, and I'm still amazed at the kind of traction it gained on the ground. And I won't say it was a tech driven or any such thing. It was mostly an emotional and a very strategic driven exercise at that point. But it did help us from, I think we went from 50% to some 78% turnout in those days, which was, I'm talking like 2014. So it was considered to be a successful intervention. Yes.
That's remarkable indeed. We were talking about it just a little while ago, and you cleared at 22.
Yeah, almost. I was 23 actually. Yeah.
So which is a very, very young age when, many are still grappling with the, dilemma that confronts them. You had a clarity of purpose. Naturally, your army background, your father was in the army, would have helped. But what led you to civils as a career option?
Well, mine is not a very typical story, to be honest, because living in army cantonments and not being very exposed to the civil setup and the civilian world, I didn't really have much of an idea of the administrative systems prevailing, sadly so. But I think during college days, my father did encourage me. He kind of enlightened me about this career prospect. And he said that, women are doing so well in this profession because it relies completely on their merit and on their sensitivity and empathy towards people, which is an, I believe, inborn trait for women. I would risk saying that. So he encouraged me, and then I think mentally I was committed to the whole purpose of public service, because like you said, my background, I've seen a lot of people, my uncles, my maybe 2-3 generations have been in the armed forces, Air Force and Army. So I think I came from that orientation. Yeah.
And how has been the journey so far? A very cliched question, but an important one.
Agreed. It's been a fantastic journey with all its ups and downs and bittersweet moments. And I'll just say that it's not for the weak-hearted. If you plan to come into public service, you should be prepared for the whole ride, the ups and the downs. So, but it's been a fantastic journey, and I would say that it is still the best platform in this country for youngsters who want to prove their worth, who want to work for people, and who truly have the spirit to reach out to the vulnerable sections in this country.
You also featured as among Bureaucrats India, one of the top 23 performers, and we had some differences of opinion around that. But to be honest, your track record has been truly remarkable. You were.
No, I'm extremely humbled, first of all, to be put into.
And naturally, that is a salute to all the women officers. But you were the first woman officer to have been posted in the Chief Minister's office. How did it feel like? What was the challenges, and what were the new things that you were able to do?
So first of all, just referring to that list, the only objection I had was that 60, 70 years have gone by, and women enter on merit. Women work on their merit and also are recognized and promoted on their merit, just like the men. So there should not be any exclusive patronizing list which says women. But then I completely get the idea that you were trying to promote. And in fact, the lady who was there in the list, the DG of Maharashtra, so special regards and salute to ma'am. And she's not DG Maharashtra because she's a woman. She's DG Maharashtra because she's a capable, officer. So that's a limited point I was trying to make. And with that, of course.
And we had one more list which also had women officers. So the likes of Neena Singh ma'am and,
I'm sure like each list had its,
right,
purpose behind it. But this whole gender segregation, at least in the civil services, is no longer relevant, is what I feel. Because the whole platform is a very equal platform. You see, and we enter, like I said, on merit. There is no reservation for women for the All India services. And we completely get our recognition and earn our stripes based on the work we do.
Yeah, so the next part of the question, Chief Minister's Office, the first woman officer.
Yes, that too. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs, right? That after 60, 70 years, apparently there are such few people who are entering these policy making, decision making offices. I don't think the Chief Minister's office per se is a prestige, but the kind of leverage you have as a bureaucrat to contribute, to influence policy, to make sure that the decision making authorities understand the gender perspective, and they're of course in a position to influence important interventions. So from that perspective, women definitely this is like really late in the day for us to be celebrating me as a first entry into the Chief Minister's office. I hope that countrywide, more and more senior bureaucrats are given an opportunity.
Right.
But I do believe again that I wasn't selected because I was a woman. It was purely based on my performance, track record, and the field connect that I had, which is what they wanted to import into their decision-making processes.
Absolutely, and there is this perspective that needs to be brought into policy making. I'm sure that somebody on the other side may not be able to see, which you could bring. Certainly, it is sad that it was after 67 years, but
Yes.
better late than never. Hopefully,
Better
there
late
are
than
more,
never.
more and more officers
Absolutely.
like you get an opportunity
Absolutely.
to work in that setup. Absolutely, point well made, Smita ji. Throughout your career, you have been known for innovative approaches. Be it the Fund Your City scheme or the Amma Lalana Health Initiative. Could you throw some light on some of these, please?
Sure. So actually, my approach to every assignment has been, first of all, to understand the field priorities. It's not about me planning or designing something to be in the public eye. It is about whatever is the actual priority or the felt need of that area. So that is something I learned from being from the days of a sub-collectorship, that interventions that we make, which are truly tailor-made to suit the priorities of the people, they may have some starting problems, but they definitely go a long way, and they evolve and they take their own they come into their own life. Whereas some bureaucrats or some of us get obsessed with the public eye, and we are trying to do things to show that we are very innovative, but if they're not synced with the actual priority on the ground, then it is not going to be a lasting impact. So I think Amma Lalana was a very, very tailor-made program to suit the then requirements of Karimnagar district, of which I was collector. And they had an extremely abysmal health record, especially in the maternal and child health sector. So after a lot of field visits and feedback and interactions, it was a tailor-made program to basically encourage institutional delivery in the government sector. Karimnagar had a very thriving private sector, but they would be bleeding them, these poor people through the nose, especially agricultural labor who would go for, deliveries and all. So it was an extreme situation where the welfare measure or the government's intervention into their lives was very limited. So Amma Lalna was actually tailored to address that and to encourage them to come to government institutions, and for us to build confidence that we will take care of you. They will be clean and good hospitals with proper life support systems in place, proper paramedics in place, and you will not be let down or disappointed by our services. So a lot of build up happened around number one, the what we call the pracharam, that is the actual provocation of the idea, and the backup, which was strengthening our systems, getting our HR in place, getting the staff in place, getting the logistics in place. So it was a huge exercise of coordination between various departments. But I'm happy to tell you that even after the initial 6 to 7 months of lull period where nothing happened and we almost gave up, suddenly there was this huge surge of people from all across the district who started accessing the public sector, our government hospitals and our primary health centers. And we suddenly gained a lot of confidence from their response. And then, of course, we further value added to the scheme. that is how Amal Lalna was a successful intervention, I would say.
I often ask this because the amount of exposure that you get, the amount of the variety of people that you get to meet in your role as an IAS officer,
Yeah.
any story that you could recall, where your initiative would have, helped somebody and which was heartwarming.
Well, there are many to recount, but I will tell you an incident which I encountered while I was visiting one of the primary health centers, and I was obviously at that point in time in that mental mode that look, you must all come to government hospital, you must come to primary health center, we'll take care of you. And I saw a family fight or a family squabble going on in front of the primary health center, where there was this young pregnant woman who was probably just 20, 21, 22 years old. And her mother and mother-in-law were literally having a fist fight. So I was just curious. I was wondering what's going on. So I got down and I went to ask, Ki kya ho raha hai? In Telugu we say, Emaindi, what happened? So the mother-in-law was yelling at the mother, saying, how dare you get her to the government facility? Can't you afford a private hospital? So that is the kind of I would say deep prejudice that had been built up. So of course I encountered many such incidents where I realized that people take it as a prestige, to be able to afford private healthcare. So we have to work really hard to make our government setup more and more acceptable, more and more desirable, and more people, even from middle class, should be able to come there with pride. So that was a learning for me.
We have done, the team has done some research. Your stint as Karimnagar DM was truly remarkable in terms of fostering transparency, earning trust of citizens. Any intervention in terms of technology that you want to recall?
Yes, I think that is a fundamental tool which helped me as a district collector who was able to focus on the real needs, because these districts are huge. The number of government institutions spanning across are a formidable number. So as a collector, if you really want to make an impact, you should be able to pinpoint and know where exactly your attention is required. So I use technology. In those days, whatever technology we had available, I can recount 2-3 specific things which we evolved as a NIC team, as a district team. And I had a brilliant team of kids working with me. I would mentor them. I would tell them my requirements. And I think, they would work on those management information systems, and they would come up with extremely good reporting systems. So one I can recall is the performance tracking system, which we developed for the government schools. And in each of these government schools spanning across the entire district, maybe 700, 800, 900 Zilla Parishad schools, we could know exactly what the performance was of the children, subject wise, test wise, and also the teacher related interventions, how it was going on, whether they were actually effective in terms of their attendance, in terms of their learning outcomes. So this was a real-time reporting system where every test they gave or every exam they took, we would get the information at the district level. So based on these reports, I started reviewing those schools or those teaching communities who I felt were lagging behind. Initially there was a bit of a resistance, but I can tell you that slowly they fell in line. So I think technology is the basis where you can separate truth and lies, and you can separate fact and fiction. And once you show them what you are seeing, I think by and large the people respond, the stakeholders respond. So the performance tracking system to me was a very good tech-based intervention, and it could cut across the teachers unions and many other such things which collectors face actually in terms of output delivery. Other thing I can recall is the use of Skype. Yeah. Those days Skype had just come into operation, and I effectively used it for connecting with the residential hostels, talking to children when they were doing their special study hours, just giving them a confidence ki, look, we are watching and we are there for you, and if there's any issue, in the orphanages, in the childcare homes, in where, you know, these really vulnerable kids are there, and there is literally nobody to ask about their well-being. So we as a system, as a government, we give them a routine set of services, but as far as their mental health is concerned, as far as their sense of belonging is concerned, where do they stand and do they feel you know, wanted? Because they will tomorrow be effective citizens if they feel there is a sense of belonging, you know, to society. So I think I use Skype very effectively in the both in the health and education sector. That's something I can recall with very fond memories. And there used to be this 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock session where there was a lot of excitement in many of the district schools, because they would know that Collector Amma is going to call now and chat with us and ask us what we ate and what we're going to have for dinner. So it was a very personal and a very satisfying experience for me too. Probably another thing I do remember is using technology for encouraging private and, you know, and entrepreneurs who had ideas, like those, you know, startup style entrepreneurs who had technology solutions for some of our health and education related interventions. So I truly encouraged them. I asked them to come up with, you know, those softwares where they could offer services at a subsidized rate and probably plug in the gaps where we as government could not intervene, you know, because of the volume of nature of work. So I have always been extremely, what should I say, open to technology, open to new ideas. And in whichever assignment I have been given, my first go-to is the tech solution, and everything else is driven through that.
Okay, sanitation is and cleanliness has been largely spoken about. Something, anything to do with that that you could recall?
Sanitation, yes, we did do a lot of ISL related, I mean, what we call the individual sanitary latrines drives. And those days, it was still a novel concept. I mean, open defecation was the order of the day. I'm talking a decade back now. So on our own accord, we did do a lot of, you know, public awareness. We tried to give some kind of incentive to them building their individual sanitary latrines and to using them, very importantly, not just building them and using them as storage rooms or something. So Karimnagar in those days, and Medak also subsequently, has in 2014 and 15, if I recall, has really topped the country in ODF, open defecation free, you know, villages and units, mandal units. So it was a huge drive and effort. It'll take me quite some time on your you know, interview to explain the details, but yes, that was not a technology driven initiative. That was a purely social interface, appealing on a very community basis, and you know, explaining the consequences, like, you know, कि आपके गांव में कोई बेटी नहीं देगा, you know, no one will come for any good opportunities to your village if you don't have those kind of. So we did start it many years back. But from the drinking water point of view, if you're asking me in terms of sanitation and drinking water, technology interventions in you know, setting up a drinking water scheme has also been part of my experience. We have used SCADA very effectively, the supervisory control and data analytics systems, where we have monitored the whole network of water supply in terms of leakages, in terms of actual service delivery, timing, quality, quantity. So SCADA has been a very effective tool for me as a department head for drinking water supply in Telangana state. So like I said, technology interventions comes very naturally to me. So that's for me the way forward.
So was this part of Project Bhagirath?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
The rural water supply project, it was called Mission Bhagirath. And it basically aimed at providing drinking water through tap to the last habitation, to the last locality, to the last tanda, what we call the tribal habitations, tandas in Telangana, and we achieved a tremendous, you know, coverage. We claim it to be 100%.
Excellent.
But of course, you know, every day with the growing requirements, the project is trying to keep up. But it was a tremendous effort.
Wonderful. Smitaji, tell us about your current role and what are the innovations. It's early days yet, but I'm sure, knowing you, you are bound to bring in some innovation, some, push to technology, etc.
So, very frankly, I mean, this is a different role for me. For the first time in the last 23 years, I have always been involved in a field intervention role and mostly done field postings and, been in direct connect with the public. Probably for the first time in my life, I've been actually given an advisory job and advisory role. So I am still in the process of settling down and understanding the requirements. I have been talking to various stakeholders in the local governments, the local bodies, municipal bodies, and Panchayat Raj bodies. We've been having exclusive meetings with smaller groups, trying to understand where they actually require our support. Because as you know, the Finance Commission is more about devolution of powers. The basic Finance Commission is to ensure that the 73rd and 74th Amendment functions are devolved to the field. So I'm just trying to now understand and do a case study of where we are in terms of devolution in each sector. And from probably the technology point of view, the only thing I can claim right now is I have started the website. It is almost ready to put online. So we will engage directly with a lot of people, and people can access information on our website and understand what the Finance Commission is trying to do.
Excellent.
Hopefully we will have more to tell and
sure,
share in the coming days.
Now I'll ask you some opinion questions. Your commitment to citizen engagement and participatory governance is evident from the name you're given. You're often called as the people's officer. In your view, Smita ji, how do you believe that government officials can best involve citizens in decision-making processes, and how can they better leverage technology while ensuring trust and transparency? You have spoken about it, but for young officers who will be looking at this interview, I'm sure there are lessons, there are tips that you would want to give.
Sure. I think, first of all, what I would recommend to all the young district collectors and the civil servants who are just starting out is that you should have a very robust citizen grievance redressal system, whatever you may call it. Here we call it Prajavani. Maybe in the earlier days we used to call it Prajapalana. There are different names. It doesn't matter what the nomenclature is. The whole base concept of putting a citizens grievance redressal system in place, where although once in a week or twice in a week, you may have a system where actually people come to you, present your problems physically, because still, in India, there is a certain trust and belief in seeing a human interface. So let's not cut out that part, but, addressing them through a very, very well-tailored redressal grievance system, because every time they come back, you can actually display saying that, look, this was what your problem was. This has been referred to so-and-so department. This is the action which is being contemplated, or this is the decision which has come out of, the process, and this is how we have addressed it. So if that system is very robust, number one, people trust your governance as, extremely precise, and you can hold to account in the department or whoever is the authority who has not delivered the service. So both ways it is very useful. Number one, you get the pulse of the public. Number two, you also get the pulse of which department in your district is not working or has not addressed sufficiently for them to repeatedly keep coming to you or to keep highlighting issues on the grievance redressal system. So whatever be your comfort in terms of whatever software or reporting system, but do have a citizens grievance redressal system in place, because I believe that is the first way that you will gain credibility. Other than that, like I said, you must try and identify the core sectors of problems in your district. So instead of going all over and trying to do the routine job of all departments must be reviewed equally, I would say please focus on the welfare, on the health and education, because that's your primary role. The regulatory role, you can have good officers who can be mentored by you and who can take care. We have people called the joint collectors, people called the additional collectors, different systems in different parts of the country. You have additional district magistrates. So some of the regulatory functions must be executed by them. you should not get, as a district collector or as a DM, you should not get over obsessed with the regulatory part of your job. I sincerely believe that the development and the welfare part of the job is a more important mandate. And, it is the one with the lasting impact. And it's the one which is actually the felt need. So we are not sufficiently exposed to health, welfare, education during our early days. But that is one role which we must take very seriously. That's my only advice to the youngsters.
Excellent. And of course, there are millions, as you are aware, who aspire to be like Smita Sabharwal. Now,
You're just being very kind. I
what is your message to them, the aspiring students wanting to get into the civil services? So it is also, without doubt, the toughest examination perhaps anywhere on earth, yet the most gratifying if you clear. And there could be setbacks, so one should always have a fallback option. So some words of motivation for those wanting to get into the civils?
Well, I can say with definite pride that it is still one of the best careers that you can aspire to. And that spirit of wanting to do something for your country, actually be here, be in the present, be in that particular situation in the field, where you're in a position to solve people's problems. I think it's the most noble aspiration, first of all. So to those people who keep saying it's no longer relevant, it's a silly exam, and bureaucrats are of no use, I'd say that give us little credit, because you have no idea what the situation and circumstances are in the field. The daily management of populations which are bigger than some countries. Each district collector or DM in this country handles districts which are bigger than countries in the world. So the kind of dynamics, the kind of complicated situations, the kind of pulls and pressures which they manage at that young age, and they are able to balance things and deliver the basic administration, I would say, hats off to all of them. And we've all been through the grind, so we know what it takes. It is still one of the most beautiful aspirations, one of the most noble aspirations. So all of you who are dreaming to become civil servants, my word of encouragement to you: don't give up on your dreams. It is still the best job that you can do for your motherland. And as far as the examination is concerned, my personal advice, I may be here, taken with a pinch of salt based on your personal situation and reality, but I would say that beyond 2 attempts, don't over obsess. If this career is meant for you, I think 2 good solid 100% attempts is all it should take. Beyond that, you should not believe that that is the only door in life. There are a number of opportunities and number of beautiful professions, the number of lovely roles that you can do to contribute. And in fact, in today's day and age, I find that politics itself is a great stepping stone for many of these youngsters who are coming with great ideas, who are having the education, who are having the ethics. So an ethical political system is the need of the hour. So not just civil services, I would encourage you to look at so many arenas where you can actually influence the lives of people and take part in nation building.
Before one last two perhaps questions we have time for, and one of your tweets read, those who fly solo will have the strongest wings, and naturally inspiring. There are meanings to it, and that suits your personality and leadership. Looking ahead, personally and professionally, what are your aspirations, Smitaji?
Oh, that was a bit of a fun tweet, but yeah, I think I do mean it. I mean, what I meant is that you must rely on your core strength. You must invest in yourself. You must train your mind. You must cultivate your knowledge base. You must experiment, and you must try and find different ways of doing things. Don't follow the stereotype, because this is no longer the age of I would say incremental contribution. It has to be transformative. Whatever you do for your districts or for your whatever role that you are in currently, it must be transformative. That is the kind of strategic position that our country today is in. So we being the critical instruments, the cogs in the wheel, we must have that mindset. It cannot be incremental, like the bureaucratic style of maintaining status quo. So what I meant by that is you should rely on your core skills. You should not hesitate to try new methodologies to do things. And whatever you do should be focused on the output. It should not be about the process alone. So, and maybe on a lighter note, I also meant that I think I've been hearing a lot about networking and mentoring, and I don't think that works. I firmly believe that unless you are your own person, you have your own learning experiences, you have your own failures, and you have your own resilience, you can't go very far. So that is what I actually meant.
Absolutely, totally ditto that, because yes, absolutely, one has to have one own niche and style and commitment and conviction. You are also one of the most popular on Twitter, and naturally that is certainly something that would be inspiring. You share a lot of very interesting stuff, and but of late I have personally been very intrigued and a little bothered also about artificial intelligence, the growing penetration of artificial intelligence. I tell my colleagues, in Gray Matters Communications, the parent company for Bureaucrats India, that do not embrace it so fully that it dents your own mental abilities. It perhaps kills your curiosity and creativity. What is your view on this, Smitaji, on AI?
Actually, honestly, I'm not too familiar with the subject. So whatever little I have understood or gained is from whatever people are experiencing and talking about. Um, Definitely, I think there's a lot of apprehension about it in terms of so many aspects of our life, not just privacy or whatever, but in terms of the jobs that apparently will be lost, the human touch that will be lost, the human skills that might that is what makes us human. But having said that, I believe artificial intelligence is also a tool of technology at the end of it, and if used ethically, if developed with the right spirit, and if it doesn't disturb the human fabric of ethics, like, I mean, putting it simply, say if you have a choice between selecting certain human attributes, kindness versus intelligence, or maybe kindness versus ambition, artificial intelligence or bio reengineering should not dictate what is a better quality to choose, because that is what essentially makes us human. So beyond that, I believe if it's an ethically developed intervention, if it is not going to impact human lives negatively, I don't think there's any way to stop it, because that is the way human evolution takes place. So we must have an open mind.
All right. Thank you very much. And before you leave, we'll certainly like a testimonial for our work, our team. And there is a vibrant team working behind the scene, who are making this Bureaucrats India. It started during COVID, and we are glad that we have come this far. Today, we are recognized as one of the leading portals, initiatives, bringing out a lot of good stories. Allowing our readers and users and viewers to interface with the personas like you, personalities like you, and officers like you, and the good work that you do. One word for the Bureaucrats India initiative.
No, I have not just one word, but many words of appreciation, because one of the things which bothers me much more than artificial intelligence, I will tell you, is the whole negativity around things nowadays. Negativity around, probably the kind of work that bureaucrats do. And it's not with the complete understanding of, the kind of skill, the kind of effort, the kind of personal sacrifices that come with this job. So I believe that publications like yours, Bureaucrats India, I find that you always try and bring the positive side of things to the to the public domain. That is so important. You have no idea, because to inspire youngsters that it is a wonderful platform. The civil services is not all about corruption and you know uh, the wrong things which seem to get projected. But for every one corrupt bureaucrat out there, there are hundreds of honest, sincere, hardworking, brilliant youngsters who are giving the best years of their life to this country. So let's not ever, forget that. And I would only have words of appreciation for publications like yours to keep highlighting good work, to keep highlighting good interventions, stories, and also to motivate and encourage and inspire more and more youngsters to look at the civil services as still a very relevant profession and career.
Thank you. Yes, as we call it, one of our punchline says that we celebrate positivity. I think it is also there on the Twitter bio that we have. Thank you. So this was Smita Sabharwal for you, 2001 Telangana cadre IAS officer. She says that whatever you do it with conviction and do it in a manner that it brings about transformative changes. Thank you very much, Smitaji. This was truly wonderful to speak to you, get your insights and views on a variety of issues. We shall keep coming back to you for various formats of programs that we do, and keep guiding us, the team of Bureaucrats India. Of course, we shall do our bit to ensure that we continue to populate the public sphere with positivity and positive stories of good governance from across the country. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you so much. Good luck to you.